see it all season. Hey guys, your girl Asia, Gay Geek XX Chic, and we're back with the season finale of Motherland Fort Salem Season 2, Episode 10, which is called A Revolution Part 1. Which means Part 2 will not be till the next season, and I'm not about that. I don't like cliffhangers. They make me angry. Last episode, we had a lot go down, the biggest thing being, of course, the fall of Alder. She's no longer heading up the army after hundreds of years in that position. And it was very bittersweet. On the one hand, I do think that there needs to be huge changes in the military. I do think that a new era needs to start. But obviously, the sad part is that Alder is still a person, and she's got a lot of emotions and a lot of her life tied up into the military. She really doesn't have much outside of it anymore because it has been her life for so long. And unfortunately, she kind of had to be humbled, and she had to go through a lot in order for that change to happen. Things happen for a reason. So who knows? This might actually turn out to be of benefit in some way. But we're not going to find out until we watch the episode and see what the repercussions are going to be, because as we saw right at the end of the episode, the Camarilla have struck again by putting that crazy mutant virus right in the heart of Fort Salem. And that's where some of the most powerful witches are. So things are definitely not looking good for our group. So let's find out what happens to them by watching the episode. But before we do, you know the drill. If you've been here before and you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when I do more reactions. Of course, this is done for the season, but I will be reacting to season 3 when it comes out. And I also react to a lot of other really cool shows that are very much like this one. So if you're so inclined, please hit that button and join the fam. We'd love to have you. All right, that out of the way, guys. Let's get into the episode right about now. Wow. Wow.
Everyone's in control of their vocal cords.
Ew. Not this dickhead. Anacostia, you should have killed him. Now would be a great time for you to tap into that mycelium, my girl. Like, what are all these dead witches for?
Small groups, stick to the shadows. Pick your targets wisely. Let's take back our base.
She says with confidence, but probably overconfidence.
Okay.
Oh, they're all like, we missed you. But we hate you, but we missed you.
Thank you, Sarah.
We Sarah now.
Of course. General.
Respect, I like it. Ain't time for no power struggles. Nick does like, wasn't I supposed to be executed? Why am I in this?
We'll fight them together. Army and spree.
Then take the thing off her neck.
This is a frequency that's not fury without work. I'm gonna try something.
Let her try. Okay, Tara, do your thing, girl. Hey. Right? I was like, y'all better get on this song. Bitch.
Me too.
Oh, these two are a thing now? About the time. Well, maybe. There's always a little time for that.
We fight to our very last breath.
No, not Anacostia smiling, girl. Damn. There was that problem. Always. Okay, well, Alder's out for the count. Thanks so much for that. Small issue to being like 300 years old. I feel like Alder's been ready to die for a very long time, actually. Damn, she gonna turn to dust. Don't inhale. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be cold here. I'm just saying.
Ooh, you've been busy.
Take the thing off her throat!
Pop by.
You must be the doctor.
Albin Hurst.
No one cares.
No one in history has done more to turn the tide of public opinion against witches. You helped to pave the way for our return, so...
It's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I'll be paying a visit to Abigail and our little friend from the Turin before the night is over. The union of earth and sky must be prevented at all costs.
Damn, they thought of it before even the Abigail had to...
What are you smiling at?
Thank you! Like, how long did that take? Yeah, you do not want to mess with her. Yep, y'all gonna kill each other, bitch. Oh, not Kalita, I can't watch. Please, not Kalita. Try to kill my sister on my watch. No, he's back.
Step away from my brother.
That's right. That was hot. The Tarim, greater than everything. No, they are what? What? That was the coolest thing I've seen all season. Good girl. Finally using this thing for some good. Come on. Thank you. I mean, it's sick, but thank you. She did y'all a favor.
And the war is upon us.
He's like, what's going on, war? I'm sorry. I was just making a sandwich. Bless his little deluded heart. It's who I freaking knew it! President's daughter. They made her a carrier.
Harry, how come nobody wants to talk to me?
Really?
Doesn't even know what's going on.
Where do we start, sweetheart? You have to. You have to. You have to. That poor girl, she didn't deserve that. And her dad knew she was doing it. He knew it.
But we all have to agree.
Yeah, let's get a plan and quick. Yes, thank you. Let's go, trifecta of awesome. Yes, yes, Abigail. Yes, what have we been working on? Yes, Abigail. Look at this. God damn, I didn't think you'd explode her. But I guess. Sorry, sis. But where did the doctor go? None of this ends until that mother... So we lost Older. Lots of witches. Like, we're both violent now. Can we join the club? Kalita's a badass. I can't. Please, like, I'm right here.
Both of you.
Thank you.
I don't understand how she's holding on.
She's too stubborn to die.
I think she's trying to say something.
I don't think you should move your face at all, ma'am. You look very dehydrated. Just don't. The CGI, though. She looks like Groot's mom, if Groot had a mom.
All these years, we just always know. And now that I need the words, they won't come.
They're there. She knows.
And don't worry. We're gonna be just as hard on my mom.
She's like, thank you for that. Your mom's petty. Tally's like, this is complicated.
I may never understand some of the choices you've made.
Fair.
I am beginning to understand the burden that those choices placed on you.
There we go.
We will carry it from here.
You kind of have to. But also, yes, she should rest. That's a long ass time to live with all this. Easy. Literally the slightest wrong move and it's just dust. Goodbye, Older. You did good, mostly.
Perhaps when she stepped down, or when she was.
I don't need perhaps. I need answers.
Damn. She also doesn't want to hear that Alder coming down might have been the cause of this.
Sorry, General, there's someone to see you.
You know what? Not today. GTFO, because you did this.
I have a warrant for the arrest of your daughter and her unit for murder. There'll be a raid.
That was planned. You'd actually have to arrest us first. I'd like to see you try.
We are all here breathing because of you three.
Best not forget it.
You are hereby remanded into custody in connection with the murder of Penelope Silver. Step aside, Sergeant.
Stand down.
This will be over before you know it.
Will it? Because he's Camarilla. It's not. They just now have the witch that they wanted in the first place.
Maybe we could try this again sometime.
Read
I want to show you something.
the room. Only a man would be like, oh yeah, half the people around you died, including your leader, but hey, we should hook up next weekend.
Here to explain that?
I only signed in one crew.
She's like, I will snap your neck. Do not lie to me.
It's just an arraignment where they formally charge us.
Well, can't your mom make this go away? She's on her way to DC right
Technically not, because military still serves the government.
I don't know, ladies.
Oh my God.
Pitchfork Brigade is...
I forgot she was even still in custody. You're not helping though.
As much as I'm loath to agree with that genocidal piece of shit, he had a point.
He did have a point. It's true. This is the problem with revenge paths. Then there's the part where she explodes.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm a witch.
Not our
These things are tied to my emotions.
More pointedly, that witches are held accountable for their actions.
Keep trying, Petra, in this step. Keep trying her.
I'm urging you to reconsider.
With what? Storm and fury?
Okay, let's not get diminutive.
A demand for justice.
This anger is not for Petra. It's for the woman before her.
I will see that they are treated fairly.
I don't trust her, unfortunately. It sucks because Alder's exacerbating her situation with all the pushing is exactly why now she trusts no witches and has venom for them.
Edmund, hi, I'm a friend of Rael's. Is Scylla there? It's urgent.
Oh, we working with the Dodgers. Okay. I like it. It's okay, Pumpkin. I know. It was so badass, but I know.
Are you starting to like her?
Yeah. She's likable.
Finally.
Something broken,
Yeah.
and it won't go back together.
I know, sweetie. It's hard.
I wasn't putting myself in your place. I couldn't until I was about to lose you.
There you go. Look how mature she is. I love her. So much growth.
I don't want to run anymore.
That's right. I want to melt people.
I want to stand and fight.
Yes, melt faces. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. The road's out. How awkward. Okay, damn. Y'all went all the way to town. She's like, that's my man. They're like, we have no idea what's going on, but we love it. I absolutely freaking love Nikta's work. Them and the Tareem, my favorite. She's like, I am going to lay it on you so hard later for that because that was hot, babe. I like this. I love that this weather is government issue. Mommy!
I'm scared. Me too. What did you say? I said I'm scared shitless.
Look at this growth.
Back to the belly of the beast.
Got to.
I worry for the beast.
That's right. I'm okay with this friendship.
Neither do I.
Nikta is a badass. I can't. She's so cool. This upgrade.
Protect them with everything you've got.
I'll see what I can do. All right, let's go.
I don't like the fact that she didn't promise, but
The last shall be first. And all that good stuff. Here we go.
I mean, if you're gonna go into a revolution, I think she's the girl you want to go into a revolution with. She's been doing it for about, what, 30 years now?
Freedom for your daddy.
Not a freedom song, y'all. Come on now. It's not that deep. I like this group, though. The Tareem, R3, Nikta. This could be fun. There it was. There's the doctor. I knew it. Maybe he didn't know, though, that it was going to use... But no, he cried when he said goodbye to her, so he knew.
Your sacrifice was not in vain.
Don't even cry, you lying sack of...
Free from the stain of witches.
Had to be done.
Okay.
Very soon, Wade will pay the ultimate price for collusion with the enemy. Now, how does that sound,
Wade?
Mr. President?
Ugh, gross. It's all about the power for him. I really hope that you rot in the worst way when you die, sir. Your daughter did not deserve you as a father. Mycelium. Oh, we can see Alder now in her actual song, just chilling out with all the other dead witches. She gets to see her family again. That's kind of sweet. Or are they gonna somehow push her out again, but she gonna be like some crazy undead like magic monster? Because I'd be down for that too. But also the Camarilla can never find out about this because God, I don't even want to think of what they might do if they, oh, ew, what? Ooh, that looks like a face of determination. I'm here for it. All right, guys. That was the season finale of Motherland Fort Salem called Revolution. And indeed, on a few fronts, Revolution could be somewhat for the witches, but I could also say that that applies to humanity as well against the status quo of witches being, you know, somewhat in power. Very interesting indeed. A lot of cool parts of this episode. I think they did a really good season finale, first and foremost. I want to say right off the bat that they ended that really well, in my opinion. The battle was interesting. The stakes that have been put in place, like all of that I think was done very, very well. And as a whole, I really like this season. I actually liked it more than season 1, which again, most shows, their sophomore season is usually the one where they have trouble, but this one actually, in my opinion, was better. Season 1 was good, but this one was such a good building point, and I think everything as far as writing wise, character development wise, storyline wise, like it was really done well. So kudos to everybody who was in charge. I like this. This season showed me that there were people in the writing room who actually thought about everything from beginning to end. There was an arc in place and they followed it. This was not a seat of your pants kind of going with the flow of what we think is popular sort of thing. They really wanted to tell a good story, and it one that was kind of building from season 1. So I like that. And it makes me very hopeful that season 3 is going to be pretty amazing as well, because like I said, this gives me the impression that some people have sat down and really thought about making sure that there's a coherent story arc being told from beginning to end, and that really helps with telling a great story. So into the episode itself, I really, the attack on the university, or sorry, on the college was sad. Obviously, obviously a lot of red shirts. We haven't been introduced to many other witches outside of the Bellwether unit and a few people that are affiliated with them, but still to have so many of them who died either in their beds or of course violently by the plague was awful. The Camarilla definitely planned this for a long time. This was very well done. Unsurprisingly, I call the vice president being Camarilla, but that was, I feel like, was pretty apparent from pretty much the first episode of the season. And sacrificing his own daughter, I felt like, I'm like, either the daughter is going to be a plant where maybe she's been conditioned, because that happens too. Like that actually would have been kind of a cool twist, because I thought about that in the back of my head for a while, like, ooh, it would be an interesting twist if somehow, I can't even remember the name of the president's daughter, but if she'd somehow like had been conditioned and twisted by her father over the years to, even though she knew she was a witch, hate it and think that her putting an end to witch kind was like going to be something that she was doing like for the greater good. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of a twisted Darth Vader-y type of thing going on, right? I think that would have been kind of cool. And then seeing her become one with the virus and being like this carrier, which by the way, how did they must have used her blood somehow. They must have used his daughter's blood to somehow turn her into a carrier that didn't die from it. But anyways, it would have been interesting if she kind of turned into like this dark, twisted, like witch-hating witch in a way. I think that would have been neat, but that's neither here nor there. Like, sadly, it turned out she was just a pawn in her father's game. And again, if he truly believes in the cause of the Camarilla, which I think we can safely say that he does, he was willing to give up his daughter because in his mind, she was tainted by something that she had literally no control over. Which also makes me wonder what happened to her mother, because it sounds like it came from her mother's side. I have to think that unfortunately, he might have killed his wife or made sure that she did not survive in order, you know, to make sure that the witch thing continued. Or again, we could have another twisted side note where maybe the mother is still around somewhere actually helping out. But I think that's a little too dark for even me to get into, because that's pretty, I don't see a mother being down with killing her own child. Men will do that, but women usually takes a lot for them to go that far. But I digress. Yeah, the attack at the campus was terrible. And I love seeing Tally, again, her growth with her sight and figuring out what was going on, figuring out how to disable the things that were, I mean, literally it was their voices being used against them. So the fact that she figured out how to like find yet another frequency to interrupt that was great. Like, so at least that's one step against the Camarilla. But again, I'm hoping that now they're starting to figure out that they're going to have to be really quick like Tally was on the field as far as figuring out how to counteract the Camarilla, because as we've seen, and we've seen all season, they are like 10 steps ahead of the military right now. So I love seeing that growth. I loved seeing that that moment actually between Alder and Anacostia was really cool, where they both kind of smiled like, if we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out fighting, yo. They were pretty badass, except for, of course, Alder was hamstrung by her biddies. She always has been, really. She was a walking corpse for a very long time, and these biddies were all that were keeping her alive, but that made her very vulnerable, and that's why, sadly, she really wasn't the right person to ever be in the field. But I can imagine how frustrating that would be for her as well, to have this thing that's keeping you alive, but also kind of being a hindrance to you at the same time. Sad, though, of course, that Anacostia had to see this woman who really has been a mother to her in many ways die, kind of, not really die in her arms, but you know what I mean? Like, just seeing her in that moment and seeing her be in that place where she was just this shriveled shell of what she used to be would be very heartbreaking, because we know that despite everything, Anacostia, the difference between Anacostia and Tally, in my opinion, is that Anacostia's love for her was really based on that acceptance and that need for a parent that Alder filled for her growing up as an orphan. Whereas with Tally, it was very much more pedestal-like idolization, if that makes sense. So for Anacostia, it was a lot more personal for her to lose this person, considering she's already lost her parents. This was like losing yet another parent and somebody that she kind of felt like would always be there, because of course Alder's always been there. I thought that moment was really sad, and I'm kind of glad though it was Anacostia in that moment, because I think she's the one person who still has that really personal connection with Alder. And again, it was fitting that she was the one who was there to give her back to the mycelium at the end. I think that moment with the Bellwether unit and Anacostia saying goodbye to her was really well done and beautiful, because despite everything, we all know that the one person who probably would have had the least amount to say at that moment would have been Raelle back in season 1. But we've seen how much Raelle has grown and understanding. Of course, the mycelium helped her to really understand Alder better, and they were all able to kind of give her this beautiful, warm, affectionate send-off in her last moments, when I feel like Alder probably felt very alone in many ways. And I love that part where Tally says to her, I will never understand why you did some of the things you did, but I'm starting to understand just how hard this has been and the burden you've had to carry, and I really don't understand how you've done it for so long. Like, that's the true crux of it. And I think I talked about that a lot in the last review, that, while I had my issues with Alder, I never hated Alder. I never did. I hated the choices she made. I hated her ego. I hated how her ego twisted a lot of the decisions that should have been better. That's what I didn't like. I never had a problem with Alder. Alder's a person. People are complex. We're multifaceted. We're multi-sided. And the thing is, we can all change. If there's time, we can always change and evolve and be better. But yeah, with Alder, it was just like, as I said, unfortunately, she was given a lot of chances to turn around and she just never took them. And it kind of took this complete shaking up of her world to finally see that, oh my gosh, yeah, like I should have been working on this next generation and preparing them and having more faith in them and listening to them, instead of thinking that I knew everything simply because I was the oldest. Yeah, I'm glad that she got to have that loving moment with these people who she clearly respects, and vice versa. She got to go back in a peaceful way and on her own terms. And again, she was alive going into the mycelium. She wasn't dead. So very interesting to see what that will mean. As we saw the very ending shot, she's in there and she's not dead. She seems to be very much alive, and the mycelium seems to be almost be rebuilding her, which I think would be great, actually, because now she won't have that dependency on the biddies anymore, because that was a really cruel program. No matter how you put it, it was actually pretty cruel. So I'm kind of glad that that's no longer going to be a thing. But yeah, I think that that's going to be very interesting going into season 3 to see what walks out of that wall of glitter next season, if that's what's going to happen. Other badass moments, you heard me, you would have known. Oh my gosh, MVP moment of the episode was Kalita coming out, showing that Tareem badassery. Listen, it is sad that they're the last of their people, because they were some badasses. I mean, maybe they were the baddest of the badasses, but my God, this girl literally melted a man with a... Listen, Alder was trying it. She was seriously trying it, getting all kinds of attitude with that little girl last season, because she could have ended the entire college with a sneeze, y'all. Nuh-uh. No, do not mess with Miss Kalita. Or her brother, please. Whew, that was sexy. That was really, I love the way she was just like, we ain't got time. Boom, ashes. Mess with me again. Who's next? But anyway, I really like that moment though, because as we saw in the last episode, there was some tension between Kalita and Adil about the whole killing thing. And I mentioned in the last episode that Kalita, being very young, not experiencing a lot of things, it's a lot easier to stay staunchly in your views about something when you haven't experienced enough life to understand that the world is not black and white. That experience came in this episode where she saw that these people were coming to kill her. She was very much, it seems like, willing to sit back and let her life be taken. But then when you see someone you love, right? It's very different to want to sacrifice yourself versus seeing someone that you love being hurt. That's a completely different ball game. And so as we saw, she was ready to die, but then when she saw her brother come in and fight for her and not be willing to just sit back and let that happen, that stirred something in her and she just couldn't see it. She could not watch her brother get murdered in front of her like that. And we saw what happened when you mess with Kalita. And she wasn't even pissed yet. Okay, that was her like annoyed. You don't want to see her when her aggro scale's at 100, okay? You know, obviously, as we saw, much like her brother, she had her moment afterwards of, holy crap. I literally just melted a man very quickly without remorse. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be okay again after it. But, you know, Adil basically said, look, I know where you're coming from, but self-defense is not the same as just violence. Violence for the sake of violence, going to war are completely different than someone's literally trying to take my life right now or somebody that I care about and I'm protecting them. And if it happens to kill them, so be it. And you heard Kalita say it, like, I saw his eyes. There was hatred in those eyes. She knew that there was no way she could just hurt this man. It would end. Like, it had to end with him. And so now she's kind of got that wake-up call of understanding where her brother is coming from. And of course, it built that bridge back to them to, you know, stop feeling that resentment. And like she said, I love that she was so open with, I'm sorry I judged you. Like, I didn't realize where you were coming from, but I do now, and I'm sorry. And he was like, look, not even mad, just happy we're back on the same page. And I love that he was like, thank you for saving my life, by the way. Like, they have such a wholesome, beautiful relationship. I love it. And I love that she was like, is Abigail okay? Later. He's like, you starting to like her, aren't you? He's like, maybe. I might like my sister-in-law, you know, which is a good thing, right? Because Adil ain't leaving her. Let's get it straight. He is so down. He is down terrible for Abigail. He ain't leaving that girl anytime soon. So I'm glad that the family is all together. She can be a flower girl at the wedding now. But yeah, that was a badass moment and I loved it. And I loved that even though it was a very short set of moments, it gave a lot of growth and story to those two and kind of where they're going to go forward in season 3. And then of course we have, the mess that has been created by the Camarilla very purposefully as far as the military and divorcing the military from the government. That's kind of the other part of the whole revolution situation. Of course, the killing of the president's daughter, or vice president's daughter, like we know it had to be done for the witch case. But as you can see, there was the news crews there, very, very strategically placed, of course. Made sure the whole world saw it happen. And while it seems like it should be cut and dried that, hey, the witches are protecting herself, did you not see the tentacles of death flying out of this girl? But, you know, a good chunk of the world is not witches. And for them, they're just going to see that a young girl who is the daughter of a political, you know, dignitary was murdered, seemingly, for something that was only going to harm a percentage of the population, right? Because we saw the news crew, perfectly human, were safe. Nothing was happening to them. They were just fine. So this girl being murdered, even though it was for the betterment of those people, it's only for a subsection of the population. So of course, it was something that could be easily twisted into, oh my gosh, you saw that the witches made someone explode. What will they do to us next? If the president's daughter wasn't safe, then who will be? Right? That narrative is going to be spun very easily by the Camarilla and Camarilla sympathizers going forward. And of course, that gave the fuel finally that the government has to finally look at the army as something that maybe isn't so beneficial and maybe something that needs to be more heavily policed and really enslaved is really where I see that going if the president has anything to do with it. Of course, we know the vice president has other plans and we'll get to him in a second. But for the president's point of view, she clearly was beefing with Alder even before this, right? They were butting heads over who was actually running things from the get-go. And of course, Alder's actions in pushing her and using her magic to force her to do things she shouldn't have done made things all the worse. As I said before, now she's got all this vitriol, all this hate, all this distrust towards witches, and unfortunately, that was Alder's doing, and it didn't need to be done. But now it's being, you know, sins of the father, or in this case, sins of the mother, is now falling onto the daughter. Petra is now picking up all that vitriol, as well as all the witches in general, and yeah, like the president's not looking to be very merciful right now. She's very much like, you know what, screw all the witches. Like, they didn't do anything good for me. They made me look like an idiot. They used me. And like I said, that, especially with the pushing, it's such a violation to have someone go in and mess with your free will. Like, as human beings, that's the one thing we hold on to very fiercely in this life, is our free will and our ability to dictate our own thoughts and lives. And if someone messes with that, that's a violation deeper than I think just about any other. So she is not in a place right now where she's going to be looking too objectively or empathetically towards witches. And that whole conversation with her and Petra kind of let her know where she's at. It's going to be a bit nuts now. And obviously Petra's got to do some damage control going forward, but it sucks because now she's inherited Alder's mess, along with the Camaria's mess, along with Nicta's mess. So she's really taken over at kind of the worst time possible. And we'll have to see how she handles that with Anacostia next week. But listen, if anyone can get it done, it's black women. We've been getting it done, okay? We've been getting it done. So I am very confident that they'll be able to figure something out. But obviously we know now that Petra's not doing this alone. This is the difference between her and Alder, is that she's coming into this, yes, into a huge mess that she didn't create, but she's also looking at now Nicta. I mean, she didn't really want to let Nicta go, but Nicta and Nicta's work is still out there. And now she's understanding that working with Spree people is going to work a lot better than it would have been before. And obviously now the Dodgers. She's also working with the Dodgers. So yeah, like I said, the revolution of how the army has been working and how witches have been working did need to happen, and there are benefits, but it's going to be a very ugly road to get to a place of, I don't even know where, to be honest. I'm not sure where the end goal is going to be at the end of this. Like, do we still have a witch army? Do we not? Does the conscription go away? Is it going to be humans against witches again? Like, I don't know what the end goal is, but whatever it is, it's going to be a lot rockier than it is smooth, for sure. And then, of course, we had how we ended with our little group of ragtag people in the Scooby-mobile. I thought of Scooby-Doo when they got into that wagon at the end. This ragtag group of people, these witches who are all very powerful and very amazing in their own ways, but very different, all being kind of stuck together as fugitives against the law right now and potentially the world. But it's a really great combination when you think of it. It really is representative of all the different factions of magic that we've been exposed to over the last 2 seasons. You know, we got our triplet there. Of course, Abby is Sky. We've got the Earth and the Tareem, as well as people who were used to be pacifists. You've got a Dodger in there / Spree, who also has a lot of Nicta's work, but also a lot of the understanding of, you know, doing what it takes to survive. And then, of course, you've got Nicta, whose work is insane. Like, I love her. I love her magic. Anyway, so having that mix for the first time, probably ever, is going to be very, very interesting and obviously necessary to combat the Camarilla going forward. Because now, the nice thing with these guys being outlaws, so to speak, or being on the edge of this whole situation, not necessarily being clearly army or being clearly Spree or being clearly Dodger, they're able to really just do what it takes to get this done. And that might mean using off-canon work. That might mean marrying Earth and Sky, which I love that, well, I don't love because I hate that guy, but you know what I'm saying? The doctor dude saying the marriage of Earth and Sky has to happen. I've been saying it, right? They keep putting together Abigail and Dylan outside of the shipping part of it, which I love. There's a reason for that. I feel like there's going to be a joining of these powers outside of the kind of joining we've already seen that will actually be very, very instrumental in taking the Camarilla down going forward. And I feel like the next generation of witches that are coming, because remember, they brought up the hand fasting this year, and I don't think it was just for the sake of meeting Abby's dads. Like, I think it was also to indicate that going forward, the breeding program is going to change a lot for witches, and they're going to realize that we don't need to do this high Atlantic thing anymore where we have to try to distill down to the actual drop of blood how we're going to keep these lines going forward, that there's strength and diversity. And so I think, you know, my prediction, I'm just going to put it out there, is that somehow by the end of season 3, most likely, that Abigail's going to be pregnant. Or if they do like a fast forward, we're going to see that Abigail and Adil are going to start this whole new generation of witches that have Earth and Sky or some kind of mixture in between, because that's what should happen, right? As humanity, we're supposed to grow and evolve and change and mix and diversify, and things get a lot stronger and better typically when you mix them up versus when you try to keep them completely separate. So that's what I kind of foresee happening as far as that whole Earth and Sky thing. But overall, all this different types of magic coming together is going to be necessary to kind of forge the new path of where magic needs to be and witches needs to be going forward, I think, in this new world. And also the fact that eventually they're going to have to learn to work with humanity, because I feel like the other thing that the Camarilla are bringing into the picture, I asked a couple of episodes ago, like, why the tech was so old, and thank you to all of you who were like, oh, it's because the world is, you know, it hasn't evolved in that way because of witchcraft. well, you know, humanity still has to evolve, right? We're not all witches. And so I think the Camarilla are also representative of mankind kind of finding their own way and growing in their own way without witchcraft. And I think that's necessary as well. But it doesn't necessarily have to be geared towards taking witches down. That's the element I think that the Camarilla is going to bring, is that humanity needs to start stepping it up as well. So they're not reliant on witches anymore, because witches shouldn't be the sole source of defense. There should be other options, other reasons, and also just allowing witches to choose what they want to do with their lives as well. So I think season 3 is going to be potentially bringing us all those elements and how they're going to go forward in the world now that the line between, you know, witches being this and humans being that is now being blurred and mixed and kind of blown apart by this season's events. So yeah, I think I covered most of the things in the episode. I might have missed a few, but I feel like I've been talking a long time. But this was a really, really good season finale and overall season. I'm very pleased with it, and I'm very much looking forward to season 3. So I cannot wait till that comes and I can react with that with you guys again. So I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this season along with me and watching this episode. If you did, I really would appreciate it if you hit that like button, and we will see you next season.